All right. Hi, everybody. Good afternoon. Welcome to Edumont. My name is Rohan. Welcome to our session. I am a CPA and a CMA. I am also your main primary faculty for CPA because I personally take care of more than 60% of your CPA preparation. With that being said, I'm also a co-founder here at Edumont. And I'd also like to quickly introduce the entire team that is involved in the production of this webinar here at 4:30. Very quickly, we've got Mohit and Saurabh who are sitting on the host PC. They are answering all your questions in the chat. Mohit, is the chat enabled? Perfect. The chat is enabled. So if you have any questions, anything you want to find out, you can ask Mohit and Saurabh. Both of them are our senior most program advisors, and both of them have a lot of experience in this exact domain. So they know everything you need to know about CPA and its processes. With that being said, we also have Asim, who is on the camera. He is in charge of the equipment, the lighting, making sure everything works well. With that being said, let's also find out. Wait, हम लोग तो यहाँ हैं, हम at a 4:30 on a Saturday. I get it. We're here to do a webinar on become a CPA in one attempt. But I'd also like to find out who the audience is. आप लोग कौन हो? And you are also here at a 4:30. So Mohit, there's a poll. Let's quickly get a look at everybody's, nothing too personal, just everybody's educational background. So कुछ basic से 3 सवाल हैं. Feel free to respond to them in the poll. And once you have responded, we'll move forward. If you're not able to see the poll for some reason, please feel free to mention it in the chat. And also let me say this, if you want to ask me any questions, we'll do a Q&A session towards the end. And there I will, Mohit will help me coordinate in this. We will allow you to speak via voice. So aap hand raise karke, you can ask your doubts. So there's an option in Zoom called raise hand, sorry. And if you're joining in on a mobile, you may see it in the menu. But it's called raise hand. Once you do that, we can see you want to talk. We'll allow you. You can unmute and then ask a query, So we're hoping that we will continue to be engaged with you. With that being said, Auji, let's look at the results. So I also am referring to a screen. I can see that on my screen, okay, when it came to class 12th, 92% of you chose commerce, which is wonderful. 8% come from science, and arts ki koi audience aaj to nahi hai yahan pe. That is fine. Well, what happened when it came to your graduation? Did this change? Usually I see a shift, but not this week. Graduation, maybe 92% of you stayed there, and 8% come from a science graduation as well, which means you come from an engineering background. Okay? People who come from a commerce background, there is one advantage. Aapne 11th, 12th ki, college ki accounting pad rakhi hai. So double entry system is something that you'll relate with, and that is the foundation even for US GAAP, the much more advanced accounting that we will study, which still require you to understand the basics of debit kya hota hai, credit kya hota hai, how do you pass a journal entry, things like that is the basic stuff. With that being said, the third question is the main question, which is what is your highest qualification? Bhai, aapki highest qualification kya hai? So I'm currently studying is 25. This is the audience that is still studying. Abhi pad rahe hain, graduation complete kar rahe hain. And I think they're smart enough to already figure out that maybe we don't want to just get into a graduate level, entry level job. Perhaps it would be smarter and wiser to get a qualification and then start somewhere, which is absolutely perfect. I get your thinking and you're in the right spot. Similar to that sort of persuasion is people who are graduates only. 25% of the audience is graduates only. I assume you are already working, or agar nahi ho abhi working, so it's probably temporary. Or you are also in the same boat as those who are graduating. You're figuring out that graduation to ho gayi hai. Is there something else that I can do on top of this that will add value and that will give me a better starting point? So I get that as well. Next up, you've got people who got a master's. That's 33% of the audience today. A third of the audience today has a master's or a post-graduation degree. So probably MBA or MCOM or a PG diploma of some sort. That's what you've got. So again, you're qualified. You're highly qualified. आपने सिर्फ undergrad नहीं, उसके ऊपर भी कुछ किया है. Just like we've got people, 17% of the audience is professional designation. इनके पास is people who are CAs or CS or ACCA. People who got something which is a designation. You put it next to your name. Like, for example, I talk about Rohan Chopra, CPA, CMA, those designations. That's what it is. It's a designation. So both masters kare and people who got a professional designation are highly qualified. And I'm pretty certain they're working. And if not, it's only temporary. But you are now trying to figure out, how do I stand out from the next MBA in line? How do I stand out from the next CA in line? How do I grow myself to the point where I get extra advantage over my peers? So I totally understand what your motivations are for joining this webinar. Thank you so much for giving us the time. What I will do is, let's move into the presentations, Mohit. We will start the slideshow, and I will tailor the slideshow to your needs. आपकी जो thought processes को समझ में रखते हुए, I will sort of present the presentation we have today, which is become a CPA in one attempt. By the way, this is not going to be a boring presentation. You'll be able to see me inside the presentation, not just in a small box on the side. बल्कि उस small box को minimize कर दो, minus कर दो. It's no longer needed. Now I'm in the presentation with you all. Okay, let's start off with the first slide. हालांकि आज का topic is become a CPA in one attempt. So if you're here wanting to find out about how to become a CPA in one attempt, you already have an understanding of CPA क्या होता है. But let me see if I can add some value here, because that's what this session is about. I'm going to show you a way to becoming a CPA in one attempt, and I'm going to show you what are the pitfalls that you need to avoid, and I'm going to try and add value. So let me start off with the first thing itself. What is CPA? I'm sure you've heard this online or through a counselor or somewhere on the phone or somewhere on the internet. Yeah, just like you've got CA in India, you have CPA in the US. Here's the fun fact: 40% of my class that I took in the morning is chartered accountants. Even 17% of this audience here is, CAs or CS or something of that nature, qualified bande. So agar ye US ki CPA is the same as India ki CA, why is such a huge amount of chartered accountants, highly qualified individuals, FNA professionals still looking towards CPA? Because there is a bigger game afoot. There is a difference in the scope of CPA and CA. So let me quickly tell you this. जैसे इंडिया में सेबी है ना, सेबी is basically the controlling body for making sure trades go in fairly, stock prices are not manipulated, insider trading does not occur. It's a regulatory body, right? सेबी का ये rule है कि if you are a publicly listed company, you need to get yourself audited. It is required. But the audit was made mandatory by an act called Sarbanes-Oxley Act. आपने इसका नाम सुना होगा शायद, Sarbanes-Oxley Act. ये यूएस में कांग्रेस ने पास की थी, ये इंडिया की एक्ट नहीं है. Just like you have the requirement for an audit in India, similarly you have the requirement for audit in the US and to all the companies that are listed on the New York Stock Exchange. क्योंकि इंडिया में सेबी है, यूएस में SEC है, Securities Exchange Commission, and SEC mandates that when you file with us. Okay, thank you Subhendra sir, thank you so much for responding. Okay, thank you Mansi, thank you for letting me know. Okay, wonderful. So let's start off one more time, just because if there was an issue, I'll start again. Okay, we were talking about CPA and we were saying, just like you've got SEBI in India, you have SEC in the US. SEC mandates a listed organization, a publicly traded organization, to get audited. And even if you cross a certain threshold in revenue, just say India, if you cross 1 crore in revenue, you need to get audited still, right? So the requirement for a chartered accountant is sort of statutory, right? Because if you cross 1 crore, you have to get audited. The only person who's authorized is a CA. It's a statutory requirement. Similarly, in the US, CPA is a statutory requirement. You need a CPA to audit. So CPA सिर्फ audit करके तो नहीं रुक जाता ना. You will have one CPA who's auditing you, but you'll have a different CPA firm who's doing your accounting and reporting. And then you have a different CPA firm that will be doing your tax work. And you will have a different CPA firm engaged for consultancy. Should I raise more debt or more equity? Am I over-levered? What do I do as a business? Should I expand a certain product line? Should I contract? What are my real options? All of these consultancies, management में क्या next decisions होने चाहिए से लेकर इस transaction की accounting कैसे करनी है, transaction advisory तक, the whole gambit is needed by these organizations. The difference in scope, if I may explain it to you now, is the US stock exchanges. दो हैं. So when we say SEC कहता है कि if you're a publicly listed company, you need to be audited. What do I mean by that? Publicly listed where? In the US. Okay, so that's there, right? सोचने में तो ये लगता होगा, that's there. We are in India. How does this affect me? But here's the deal. There's 2 stock exchanges in the US. NASDAQ, which is fairly okay. It's medium-sized stock exchange. And the next one is the New York Stock Exchange, NYSE. The New York Stock Exchange is the world's largest stock exchange. The best of the very best of every country gets listed on NYSE. You'd be surprised to know companies that are doing exceptionally well in India are also listed abroad. For example, HDFC Bank, which seems to be like a Indian bank, is actually listed on NYSE, and HDFC requires CPAs. Tata Motors, which is doing exceptionally well with EVs, आज की तारीख में you don't have a choice if you wanted to buy an EV. Tesla doesn't exist in India, so all you got is a Tata Nexon. That's the number one offering right now. Exceptionally well. They also own Jaguar and Land Rover. Yep, Tata Motors is listed on NYSE. So is Infosys, so is Wipro. But more importantly, if you think about it, everything that you consider a brand, that you think is a brand you'd like to acquire, you'd like to wear, be it a watch brand or a clothing brand, that you'd like to consume, be it foods or be it products, everything you consider a brand is already listed on NYSE. That's the point. CPA बनने के पीछे the biggest motivation is you want to serve a better class of clients. You want to serve global brands. That's why 40% of my existing class audience is CAs, because they're happy doing what they're doing, but they want to grow. They want to now serve a JP Morgan Chase Bank. They now want to go and audit a Reckitt Benckiser. They're hoping to do bigger work. And just like in CA, and this is why we draw parallel also, just like in CA, the areas of work, the fields of employment, they are very similar. CA auditing karta hai, hum bhi auditing karte hain, but for a different type of client who requires our service mandatorily. CAs accounting and reporting karte hain, hum bhi karte hain. They do tax work, hum bhi karte hain, international taxation ka kaam. You want to talk about consultancy? Yes, CPAs are consultants. That is the point. So there is a difference in scope. I hope I've been able to add some value to your understanding. With that being said, let's move on to the next slide. Let me give you some information that you may or may not have heard of. If you read the Economic Times or ये तो Wall Street Journal or Washington Post के भी articles हैं, but if you read Economic Times, you may be catching wind of this. But if you don't, तो आपको शायद नहीं पता होगा. Right now in the US, there is an acute shortage of CPAs. When I say acute, what I mean is 75% of the managerial staff in CPA firms is due for retirement within the next 15 years. 75% managerial staff retire हो रहा है next 15 years में. Of that 75%, 60% of them are retiring in the next 5 years. So shortage है and it's accelerating. But do they have enough people to come up and take up these job roles? No. If such a massive audience, baby boomers थे ये लोग, they're retiring क्योंकि age हो गई है, they're reaching their retirement age, so they don't have enough people to come up. क्योंकि CPA बन जाओ is one thing, you also need experience to become a manager. You need 10-15 years of work experience in your field. So it's a lot, right? You need to become a manager, you need certain expertise. So they don't have that kind of stuff. They don't have that ability. So हो क्या रहा है? It's causing uncertainty in the market. It's causing a shortage of CPAs, a high demand and low supply situation. So ये जो articles हैं Wall Street Journal के और Washington Post के, they are essentially in different languages saying the same thing. But Mohit, let's move on to the next slide. And let me tell you, it's not like there isn't a solution to this problem. The US has already found it. They've been doing it for years. They've been outsourcing work, right? So they figured out, let's outsource it. अगर US में CPAs नहीं है तो कहीं और तो होंगे और हैं. So as a result, China, UAE and India are the three countries to which American companies are now looking to outsource their processes. That's it. China, UAE and India. We've become the market. And I mean, I don't even have to say this. It sounds boisterous to say it, but I'll say it still. India is to data processing what China is to manufacturing. So अगर ये तीन countries का नाम है, तो you can bet India will be the majority winner. India will get the massive share of jobs, and India is getting it. As a result, PwC, KPMG are hiring in bulk over the next 2 to 3 years because these jobs are coming in. Boeing जैसी company, which again, you could say that's happening in the US, right? Boeing US में located है, मेरे किस काम आती है? मैं तो कभी-कभी flight लेता हूँ. वो भी कभी एयरबस होती है, कभी बोइंग होती है, हाउ डज इट मैटर टू मी? बोइंग इज अ कंपनी दैट मेक्स एयरप्लेन्स in the US, and Boeing fired its entire accounting department or whatever was left of it. Not out of some malice, ऐसा नहीं था, but they figured they'll save all of the payroll costs for accounting staff in the US and instead outsource the work to Genpact. Genpact वो इंडिया में सस्ते दामों में करवा देगा सारी accounting, and the money they will save in this process will be invested in hiring engineers so that better planes can be built. So Boeing as a company is focusing more on what their core is, building airplanes. So Boeing is just one example. Microsoft is another. All of these brands that you think of, there are more than 10,000 major brands that are listed on NYSE. And all of the companies that are located in the US are sending work to India. That's lakhs upon lakhs of jobs. That is the point. So opportunity India में खुल रही है. Speed से खुल रही है. That is the good news. I also have some bad news. I'll give that to you in this session. But this is the good news for now. Let's move on to the next slide, Mohit. Let me give you a laydown of the job market as well. एक बार थोड़ा सा ये भी समझा देता हूँ कि scope जो हमने CPA का discuss किया, how does that apply in India or maybe even abroad? Let's talk about India and abroad in a nutshell. So first things first, of course, if you're an F&A professional or aspiring to be one, there's 4 companies you really want to work in. Big 4. For some reason, we have a fetish with them. We like working in a big 4. We like having the brand name. I too am ex-EY and I tell everybody proudly. So सबसे पहले तो Big 4 and Big 6 इसको थोड़ा अलग कर देते हैं. So Big 4 and Big 6 is EY, PwC, KPMG, Deloitte. And फिर Big 6 कर रहे हो तो you will also talk about GT and you talk about RSM. Video को surpass कर गई है recently. RSM is now in the Big 6. These are the 6 biggest accounting firms in the world, and they hire CPAs in bulk, not just in the US, but also in India. As a matter of fact, all of these companies that I'm naming have dual entities. There is a EY India, there is also EY GDS. GDS hires all of the CPAs. That's the point. There's Deloitte India, but then there's also Deloitte USI. Similarly for KPMG, similarly for PwC, GT, and all of these other brands that I'm naming. India specific entity भी है जो Indian clients को serve करती है, then global entities भी है. You know why? Because India has a massive outsourcing industry. We've got a pool of talent here. Yeah, we've got people who are educated, who are hardworking, and who require less to survive because our standard of living is relatively lower than US, but also our cost of living is relatively lower. So we require lesser salaries as well. We're just better in that sense. So India has a massive outsourcing industry. Companies like Genpact, Accenture, EXL, FIS, DXC, you name them. These companies are built on the idea of what? Outsourcing. Microsoft को बोलेंगे तुम अपनी क्यों payroll accounting कर रहे हो? You send it over to us. We'll get done in India. सस्ते में हो जाएगा. You have thousands upon thousands of employees. उनका data process करना ही बहुत बड़ी बात है. But we'll do it at a fraction of a cost. That's what Genpact's business model is. Genuinely. So India has a budding outsourcing industry. That's why you'll find यहाँ पर there is a lot of opportunity for employment, for gainful employment. So what I see my camera's off the grid. What's up? Next up is the New York Stock Exchange listed brands. 10,000 plus listed brands on NYSE on the New York Stock Exchange who require CPAs for their day-to-day accounting and reporting, for their tax work, for their consulting requirement. So think about it. All of these major brands that you think about, for example, Amazon ko le lete hain, which is very clearly a US company, is listed in NYSE. It also has an Indian entity, right? A subsidiary, Amazon India. Amazon India buys all of its raw material, its inventory in rupees, sells to the customer in rupees, profits in rupees, pays taxes in rupees. But do you know that at the end of the year, Amazon India needs to be consolidated with Amazon US? And to consolidate, you can't consolidate rupees into dollars. You first have to remeasure and translate the currency. And then you will have to apply US GAAP. You will have to treat these IND-AS financial statements and convert them into US GAAP. Then you would be able to consolidate. This is a Herculean task. It's a huge job. Consolidation. क्योंकि एक एंटिटी नहीं है अमेज़न की, लाखों है. Across the world, they'll have every country covered, most countries covered, have most countries today, 150 plus countries today have Amazon. All of them have entities and various entities for different purposes, different businesses. All of this requires CPAs, not one, 1,000 or a few thousand, you know. That's the point. These brands need CPAs. Next up, you've got foreign investment and investor biases. So India as an economy is, specifically to India, is set up for foreign investment. We as a country are happy to get foreign investment because we clearly want it and we are willing to provide tax breaks, special economic zones for this. And that's not bad. It's a good business strategy. You want to get foreign money invested in India. I get that. But you know what? If the investor is looking at your project and is looking to invest serious money, they feel a lot more comfortable knowing that the CFO of this project is dually qualified. They've got a local qualification, which helps them understand the local accounting rules. That is, in our case, chartered accountancy. And they also have a degree that the investor talks about. The language of the investor is understood by this individual, a CPA. This is why so many of my CE audience is actually looking at this as an actual option. 15 साल का experience है. I've become a certain level of person at this major organization. But now I'm hoping to do my CPA. And I want to take up a CFO level role with a new startup that's getting funded. That's the point. This is another functional area of getting an employment. We also have expat and foreign taxation. Expat and foreign taxation is something in which not only does the big four and all of these outsourcing companies hire, but you can also start your own practice. That's the beauty of it. So expat and foreign taxation is very clearly, for example, Amazon ka hi le lete hain. I told you Amazon has Amazon India, right? And then they also have Amazon US. Amazon US has to file a consolidated financial statement with the SEC, but also has to file a consolidated report, a return with the IRS, Internal Revenue Service, unka tax department. In that return, they have to show that their income comprises of a portion of rupee income from India. But that income has already been taxed in India. So it must not be double taxed. And as a result, US has to provide a foreign tax credit. So you need a CPA to help you out with all of this information. You need a CPA to help you out with sorting your taxes and applying for it. And making sure you get the foreign tax credit appropriate and apportionate of your income from a taxed jurisdiction. That's the idea. And then you also have new technologies, new avenues, new opportunities that are constantly opening up. For example, blockchain ki agar main baat karu, it's a term you've heard before. You may not necessarily be able to describe it. You may understand that it is a peer-to-peer network. It is a multi-ledger unit. You can record your transaction in different slots and it's incorruptible. Ye baatein shayad aapne sun bhi rakhi hongi. But here's the deal. Because blockchain is so secure, banks are starting to use blockchain, especially in the US, to record their day-to-day daily trades on Wall Street. There is terabytes of data. They want to record it safely via blockchain. Now think about it. At the end of the year, when the auditor comes along to audit a JP Morgan Chase, and he's trying to figure out ye jo trades inhone dale ye sahi execute hue, are they at the right price? How does this auditor now verify? There is no paper trail. There is no computer trail. There is a trail in blockchain. You need somebody who understands how to audit a blockchain transaction, how to access a blockchain ledger. That is the point. So as a result, this piece of content is being added to the 2024 syllabus of CPA. Oh yes, 2024 में जो नई auditing launch होगी उसमें ये topic होगा. And also this will become a field of employment for you if you understand the topic. That's the point. So with that, that's the sort of the sum of the market. Let's move on to the next slide and quickly talk about the exam pattern. Because if you want to become a CPA in one attempt, I think the first thing you need to understand is the exam pattern. Because बिना exam pattern समझे बात तो बनेगी नहीं. So I'll tell you, there are 3 types of questions you will see in the CPA exam. You will see MCQs, you will see WCTs, and you will see TBSs. अब आपको शायद नहीं पता क्या है, तो I'll tell you, MCQ is multiple choice questions. 1 question, 4 choices, इनमें से एक ठीक है. Then there is TBSs, task based simulations. TBS is a case or a long form question. जैसे for example audit के case में they'll give you a task, they'll give you an audit report with blanks in it, they'll tell you what the opinion type is and they'll ask you to fill in the blanks. तो इसमें लिखना नहीं होता. This is also objective, multiple choice, but instead of 4 choices you will have like 10 choices. So it's a longer question with multiple sub questions in it and multiple sub choices in it. That is a TBS. Slightly more difficult, it's a task. Then there's WCT, which is an essay. Essay लिखना होता है. So WCTs are the rarest form of questions in the CPA exam. ये सिर्फ और सिर्फ BEC के एग्जाम में आते हैं और किसी एग्जाम में नहीं है. And there are only 3 WCTs. Each WCT is an essay worth 500 words जो आपको author करना होता है. तो total 1500 words लिखे होते हैं, यानी कि almost 3 to 4 pages. That's it. And that's all there is to it. That's all the writing, the typing that you need to do. Again, you don't have to write. This is a computer adaptive exam. So you are going to type. But it's only in one exam. So let me give you a breakdown of the 4 exams that are in the CPA syllabus. So you've got audit, auditing, AUD. You've got FAR, financial accounting and reporting. For accounting and reporting jobs, for FP&A, financial planning and analysis jobs. That's the idea. And then you've got reg. Reg is regulation, US tax regulation. So that's tax. And finally, you've got consulting. जो चौथा हमारा type of work था. In this case, that's BEC, business environment and concepts, the business and consultancy related subject. These are the 4 subjects that we talk about. Now, with that being said, each subject is a separate exam. इसमें group totals नहीं होते हैं. There is no negative marking either. And as such, each exam needs to be passed separately. Now, one thing you've probably noticed looking at the diagram right under me, ये testlet 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ऐसे करके चल रहा है. What is a testlet? So testlet is a group. Each exam is for 4 hours, and in each exam there are 5 groups. 4 घंटे के एग्जाम में 5 groups हैं. The first 2 groups will always be MCQs. चाहे एग्जाम ऑडिट का हो, फार का हो, रेक का हो या बैक का हो. Always MCQs. They have a 50% weightage. So CPA syllabus, CPA exam, 50% is multiple choice questions. Remaining 50% is always TBSs, task-based simulations, which are again objective in nature, except for BEC. So audit for reg में the remaining 3 testlets, which have a 50% weight, are TBSs. BEC, I told you इसमें WCT भी होते हैं, written essay. तो वो ये है, testlet 3 and 4 have TBSs, 4 TBS आते हैं total, and last में testlet 5 में there is WCT. So the CPA exam is not a 100% objective exam, as you may have heard online, but it is pretty close to it. It's 96% objective, क्योंकि सिर्फ थोड़ा सा ही लिखित का काम है, writing का काम है in BEC. With that being said, Mohit, let's go on to the next slide. I want to ask everybody a question. क्या लगता है आपको? Because the CPA exam has multiple choice questions in it, is it an easy exam? Is it an easy paper? What do you think? Let's quickly release the poll, ask everybody. Do we have responses? Okay. Is everybody done? Okay, let's quickly take a look at the response. So 13% of you think it's easy, 38% of you chose medium, 38% of you chose average. Average और medium basically interchangeable ही होते हैं. Medium मतलब बीच का, average थोड़ा उससे better. Very hard. Again, जितने लोगों ने easy बोला उतने लोगों ने hard बोला, 13%. So with that being said, let's just close this. With that being said, mixed opinions है सबके. And based on MCQs, if you were to judge CPA, आपको कोई specific clarity नहीं मिलेगी. I want you to think of this. कौन बनेगा करोड़पति देखा है? It's got multiple choice questions, right? The first question, which is for $1,000, is very easy. The last question, which is for ₹1 crore, is not so easy, right? There's only a handful of people who ever won 1 crore on कौन बनेगा करोड़पति. So the idea is multiple choice question is basis पे मत judge करो CPA exam को. Don't think that it is easy or it is difficult based on this. Question तो easy भी हो सकता है और difficult भी हो सकता है. It's the examiner's intent. Instead, let me give you the facts. CPA exam, if you want to pass the CPA exam, you need to get a 75 percentile or more. You know what a percentile is? It's not the same as a percentage, definitely. And this percentile is a pegged percentile. ये AICP की अपनी बनाई हुई percentile system है. This is slightly different than even the percentile you see in CAT. उससे भी अलग है ये. This percentile system uses two variables. आमतौर पे हमारा स्कोर इंडिया में कैसे आता है? If you got 10 questions of equal weightage and you get 7 of them right, you get 70% marks. That is your percentage of accuracy. That is a single variable. This percentile system uses two variables. The second variable is the level of difficulty that you are able to achieve. Oh yes. So you need a 75 percentile. Yeah, what is happening? I'll tell you. Hold on. The CPA exam is a computer adaptive exam. I said that in the last slide. And I showed you there are 5 testlets. So I'm sure you were wondering कि 5 testlet क्यों हैं? Let me give you a response to that also. The CPA exam is designed this way कि testlet 1 में how you perform will determine the level of difficulty for testlet 2. If you perform well, testlet 2 will become incrementally more difficult. If you perform well, testlet 3 will become incrementally more difficult. And the more difficult your paper gets, the higher your percentile goes. The higher your percentile goes. So the CPA exam is designed this way, that it has to be difficult by very nature if you are passing it. But here's the good news. मान लो यार testlet 1 में you got like a 90% accuracy. So you did really well, right? So testlet 2 became incrementally harder. Testlet 2 में now even if you only get like a 50 or a 60% accuracy, 90 आ रही थी पहले अब 60 ही रह गई, तो भी your testlet 3 will become more difficult and your percentile will increase. You know why? Because the level of difficulty increased. You're on the upward trajectory. अच्छा यही अगर testlet 1 में you get like a 30% accuracy, you do really badly, so testlet 2 becomes easier. Now, even if you get 100% accuracy in testlet 2, your percentile is not going to increase beyond the threshold where it started. So percentile बढ़ेगी नहीं. So in the CPA exam, we're actually preparing for the first 2 to 3 testlets more rigorously than we are preparing for the next 2 testlets, which is 4 and 5. Because the percentile gets determined in the first few testlets in the starting itself. That is the point. Now, let me also tell you a few things that are different about the CPA exam. Hopefully, this will add some value to you because इस बारे में ज़्यादा बात करते नहीं हैं दूसरे institutes या दूसरी websites या लोग in general. But I need to tell this to you. आमतौर पे इंडिया में हमारा एक study pattern है. What we do is we read a book, we read it twice, thrice maybe. We'll make notes out of the book and we'll try and learn those notes by heart the words in it. क्योंकि हमारे यहाँ एग्जाम में खाली पीस ऑफ पेपर होता है उसको भरना होता है एंड इन आवर एग्जाम इफ वी कोट सेक्शन नंबर्स इफ वी कोट एक्ट्स एंड देयर ईयर्स किस ईयर में बनी थी ये एक्ट वी गेट एक्स्ट्रा मार्क्स सीए में भी अगर आप लॉ के पेपर में सेक्शन नंबर लिख के आते हो तो एग्जामिनर एक्स्ट्रा मार्क्स देता है सो हमारे किसी भी लेवल पे अगर आप क्वालिफाई कर रहे हो इन इंडिया यू आर गोइंग टू फिल इन अ ब्लैंक पीस ऑफ पेपर तो व्हाट यू रिक्वायर्ड टू डू जो आपका पढ़ने का तरीका बन गया वो यही है किताब को 4 बार पढ़ो उसको रट लो उसके एक एक शब्द को रट लो और आपका काम बन जाएगा बट द सीपीए एग्जाम हैज एन एंटायरली ऑपोजिट टेस्टिंग पैटर्न इट्स अ कंप्लीट कॉन्ट्रास्ट मतलब इफ वी लुक एट द स्किल्स दैट आर टेस्टेड इन द सीपीए एग्जाम एंड दीज आर गिवन टू यू राइट हियर इन डिसेंडिंग ऑर्डर सबसे ऊपर है इवैल्यूएशन दैट्स द बिगेस्ट थिंग इवैल्यूएशन इज द मोस्ट वेटेज उससे थोड़ा कम इंपॉर्टेंट है एनालिसिस उससे थोड़ा कम इंपॉर्टेंट है एप्लीकेशन और लीस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट है रिमेंबरिंग सो इवन इफ यू डोंट अंडरस्टैंड इवैल्यूएशन एनालिसिस एप्लीकेशन का मतलब क्या है तो भी यू कैन सी वन थिंग राइट रिमेंबरिंग इज द लीस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग एंड रिमेंबरिंग हमारे यहाँ पे व्हेन वी स्टडी इज द मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग दिस इज अ कंप्लीट कंट्रास्ट And I'm not at all blaming the Indian system. I'm a product of the Indian system. I'm not complaining. आई एम जस्ट ट्राइंग टू ड्रॉ द कंट्रास्ट बिटवीन द टू. सीपीए की टेस्टिंग में वो कुछ और ही टेस्ट करना चाहता है. ये स्किल्स हैं, इवैल्यूएशन, एनालिसिस, अप्लाई कर पाना जो पढ़ा था उसको इन अ प्रैक्टिकल सिनेरियो. These are skills, and these are the skills you will have to develop to become a CPA. That's the beauty of it as well. Let's move on to the next slide, Mohit, real quick. Let me tell you something. अगर आपको CPA एक attempt में बनना है, if that really is your goal, then you've come to the right spot, because I'm going to tell you a golden rule that's going to help you in preparing for virtually every American qualification. CPA ही नहीं है सिर्फ, CMA is also an American qualification, as is CFA. ये सब अमेरिकन डिग्रीज हैं. इनमें से किसी की भी पढ़ाई कर रहे हो, एक गोल्डन रूल देता हूं. फॉर एवरी 2 hours यू स्पेंड ऑन सेल्फ स्टडी, डिवाइडेड इनटू 2 parts, 1:3 के रेशो में. 1/4 ऑफ द टाइम नीड्स टू बी स्पेंट इन रिवाइजिंग द थ्योरी. बुक को फटाफट से रिवाइज करने में आधा घंटा जाना चाहिए हर 2 घंटे के लिए. 1.5 hours, 75% of the time needs to be spent in the online test bank. You see, American questions, American question papers, American qualifications are designed to test skills more so than memory. And that is the point. स्किल बनाने के लिए किसी भी चीज की, आप किसी भी चीज को जिसको स्किल मानते हो, आप बताओ ड्राइविंग इज अ स्किल, तो गाड़ी चलानी सीखने के लिए क्या करते हो? सीखते हो, प्रैक्टिस करते हो. दैट इज द आइडिया. सेम थिंग अप्लाइज हियर. यू गॉट टू क्विकली रिवाइज, ये आप सीख रहे हो, एंड देन प्रैक्टिस इन द ऑनलाइन टेस्ट बैंक. In fact, if you want to become a CPA in one attempt, having the right online test bank is a very, very major portion of your preparation. अगर आपका टेस्ट बैंक सही नहीं है तो वैसे भी प्रॉब्लम बहुत है आपके लिए. So let's quickly give you a look at what the test bank is. Mohit, let's quickly show everybody what the test bank looks like, and then I'll also tell you कि टेस्ट बैंक सही चुनने के लिए क्या करना होता है. What are the options that are available? How do you make sure you get the right test bank? Okay, let's start the tour. Here's a look at the Wiley test bank. At random, I've chosen the subject regulation. On the home page, you're greeted by 3 choices and also a basic overview of your test bank completion, your practice exam completion, and also the flashcard completion. Let's start off by going to the test bank. As you can see, we start off with the topics distributed to us in 5 groups. Let's say you select the first part. You can then further divide each subtopic into even smaller topics. And then you can finally select, let's say I've taken up this particular topic, licensing and disciplinary systems. So there are 10 available questions from this. Let's say I want to launch 3. It says 6 minutes is the time I should take. Question 1. So I'm going to wing it this time. Let's guess it's A. Oh, I made a mistake. When I make a mistake, I need to understand what went wrong. Then I need to select the right choice and then figure out why is it the right choice. If I don't agree with the logic here, I should then flag the question like I already have. Let's move on to question 2. Select one at random. I got that right. Let's move on to the third one. I got that wrong. I do the same thing this time. When I get it wrong, I see if the logic is correct. Even in question 2, when you get it right, always see if you agree with the logic here. So let's say I'm done with this and I want to submit. So I save and quit. When I do this, it takes me to the results page where I can see and assess my overall performance. I can also see what was the correct choice and what I selected. I can then analyze what the reasons are, look at the explanations available to me, and determine if I want to keep this question where it is or if I want to flag it. Let's return back to the test bank. When you take up enough of these sessions, we can go to the metrics section where I can see what your performance level was like. So in this case, it's a bad case because we started off with 67% accuracy, but then it only declined. We can see that trend and we can also pull up the very first assessment that you chose. In fact, we can pull up pretty much all of your performance because the metrics section logs everything. and it presents the number of custom assessments you've taken right here. You can also download the report. This actually is the basis on which we will judge your performance and then tell you if you're ready to take the exam or not. Then there is also the practice exam section where you're supposed to get 90% or more. We personally at Edumont prefer if you get 95. You can choose practice exam A or B, which are unknown questions, which are not questions you've seen before in the test bank, or you can choose an unlimited amount of practice exams from the test bank itself. And then you can begin the assessment. It's a 4 hours exam with a total of 84 questions. And you are to attempt it. And that's it. So there you just saw the OTV. Let's move back into the slides. आपने देखा OTV के अंदर किस तरीके के questions हो सकते हैं. You could have a question you get right, you could have a question you get wrong, you could have a question you flag. You also saw the interface of the test bank. The way the test bank looks is exactly the same as that of the CPA exam, even down to the font that is used. So if you have a good test bank, you will have a AICPA approved material. AICPA approved study materials 5 ही हैं. There's only 5. There's Wiley, there's Rogers, there's Sargent, there's Becker's, and there's Gleam. 5 ही हैं. इसके अलावा कोई और नहीं है. So if you hear any other name beyond these that isn't very clearly an approved study provider, stay away from it. And कुछ नामी गिरामी brands भी इस काम में फंसे हुए हैं. Because importing the approved material is expensive. It's not cheap. In fact, you have to pay, the firm has to pay in dollars to buy the material. But the idea is local businesses that have printed their own version of the material and are supplying it to you are charging you less, but their material is not updated. It is not approved. It is not free from mistakes. So if you try and save a little bit on the study material cost and not get an approved study material, the choice is yours. I would not recommend it because each CPA exam is very expensive. I'll talk about that when we get there. Abhi ke liye main kehna chahunga that if you are choosing between any of the 5 approved study material partners, you can't go wrong. You're doing okay. It's perfect. But here's the deal. 4 out of these 5 study providers, material providers, are in the leasing model. Only one of them is actually selling the material to you. That is Wiley. The other 4 lease the material to you. मतलब उनका एक limited period का access होता है. उसके बाद you have to pay the rent again, you have to pay the lease value again, the renewal value again. तो वो थोड़ा सा expensive पड़ जाता है if your time runs out. But that's why we chose Wiley, because Wiley comes standard with access till you pass. Approved study material है, best quality भी है और interface भी exam वाला है, everything is well. And they come with access till you pass. मतलब वो hassle नहीं है कि renew कराना पड़ेगा test bank. So that's good. That's why we partnered with them. In fact, we were so inspired by this. All our services are also access till you pass. So in becoming a CPA in one attempt, let's move on to the next slide. In becoming a CPA in one attempt, you have to pick your stakeholders in this journey that you're about to take very carefully. आप सिर्फ CPA की जर्नी शुरू करते हुए सिर्फ स्टडी मटेरियल से नहीं शुरू कर सकते. स्टडी मटेरियल तो सही चाहिए ही. You also need somebody to train you in the process, because the CPA exam is not a standard typical exam की किताब पढ़ी और पेपर पास हो गए. Remember, it's a test of skills. So you need to have methods to build that skill. This is why Edumont is known in the market for providing a quality of service that you would expect from a training institute, but you would rarely get. There are 3 things that we do in addition to providing you the steps to study and monitoring your process, your progress. There are 3 things that we do that make us exceptional. Number 1 is the way our classes are. हमारी जो classes हैं, they are online, but they're not a typical online class. ये presentation वगैरह देने के लिए, sales की talk करने के लिए, this is fine, this setup is fine. But if you want to study, studying from a PPT is not very nice. It becomes boring quick. So what you want is the traditional method in which you studied, right? Physical class wali feel chahiye. I want a teacher to teach on a whiteboard or a blackboard. I want them to write down what is important and I want them to answer my questions right now. And that's exactly what our class is. You know what? Seeing is believing. Mohit, there's a poll. Let's quickly release. If you are interested in attending our class tomorrow, please feel free to do so. Mohit, सबको पूछो, जो आना चाहता है यहाँ पे yes कर दो. We will invite you tomorrow, and you're welcome to attend our class. And it's complimentary. You don't have to pay anything. And again, our class that you will see tomorrow is a regular running class. ये कोई special demo class नहीं है जो मैं आपके लिए कर रहा हूँ. It's a class that is going to comprise of my existing students जो पढ़ रहे हैं. We are in the middle of BEC and उसमें भी हम chapter 5 शुरू करने जा रहे हैं अब. तो ठीक है, बीच में आओगे आप. Probably you will not be able to relate to what we've studied before because you haven't studied it. But I still hope कि आप कुछ तो समझ जाओगे उसमें से, और अगर समझ जाओगे तो it will be worth it. That is the point. अगर पिक्चर बीच में से देख के भी समझ आ जाए तो बहुत बढ़िया ना. That is the nice thing. That's the idea. So okay, what do we have responses? चलो बंद कर दो यार. Let's close it down. Okay. Let me also in addition to that say कि Saturday Sunday को we do our concept classes which is online है but it's chalk and talk. It's on a whiteboard and you can ask your questions via voice. Chat में भी डाल सकते हो. And it's an experience that you should try up tomorrow. Fine. But in addition to that, Saturday Sunday की ये class from 10:30 to 2:30 in the morning, 10:30 to 2:30 in the afternoon. 4 घंटे की. ये 8 घंटे की training लेने के बाद there is still a job remaining. Most institutes will stop after giving you the 8 hours of training and say हो गया, चलो bye bye tata. But here's the deal. You also need guidance in how to do the test bank, because I told you 75% of your self-study time needs to be spent in the online test bank in practicing. So then I also need to tell you how to do it, which is why on Tuesday and on Thursday late at night from 10 to 11 we do a test bank class. अब आप सोच रहे हो भी late at night 10 to 11 क्यों? Because 95% of our audience at Edumont is working. We are preferred by working professionals more so than we are by students. So working professionals हमारी audience में भर के, and as a result मेरे को पता वो Tuesday और Thursday को दिन में तो available होंगे नहीं. So I have to take the class late at night from 10 to 11. With that being said, at 10 o'clock most of us are done with our office and done with our dinner as well. If you aren't, don't worry. ये 10 to 11 वाली class अगर आप miss कर देते हो तो don't worry. It is updated the very next day in the morning in the LMS, the Learning Management System, as is every session. तो कोई Saturday Sunday की class भी miss हो जाएगा तो don't worry. It's updated in a recorded format in an LMS and provided to you free of charge. We don't charge separately for the LMS like some institutes do. We don't. It's all part of the process. And the third thing we do that will blow your mind, I promise. ये आपको इंडिया में कोई और करता नहीं मिलेगा. This is a game plan call, a preparation check strategy. Basically, अगर आप एग्जाम देने के लिए तैयार हो तो आप बस जाके अपनी फीस जमा कराओ और पेपर दे दो. इससे अच्छा ये नहीं होगा कि a professional who has taught you should be able to take a look at your test bank, take a look at your performance and tell you, are you ready for the exam or not? This will greatly reduce the possibility of a failure, right? And you will find आमतौर पे लोग स्टूडेंट्स अगर सीपीए एग्जाम में फेल होते हैं ना तो उसके पीछे एक ही कारण होता है, प्रेपरेशन ही पूरी नहीं थी, सिर्फ टेस्ट बैंक के क्वेश्चंस थोड़े से करके चल दिए. You need somebody who can guide you through this process. This is why at Edumont we've got a preparation check strategy where every month we connect one-on-one via Zoom and we take a look at your test bank, we take a look at your performance, we take a look at what you've done. And when you say you're ready for the exam, you don't just go and pay the fee for the exam. You wait till you get the faculty's approval. Now, this is a personal record for me. I am very proud of this. Touch wood. Whenever I have given an approval to go give the exam, student fail nahi kiya kabhi bhi. In fact, I have students, मेरे result are actually, if you go on Instagram, whatever, you see our company results, you'll be surprised to know our results are pretty good as well. Not only does this help with pass हो जाते हैं लोग is one thing, they also score better. We've got plenty of students who've got 90 plus scores in particular subjects. तो अच्छा लगता है ना, it's good for everybody's morale and it's also safer. You don't go give the exam ऐसे क्योंकि बस मन कर रहा था दे दिया, नहीं. There's a preparation check involved. That's a safety net. And when I tell you the exam cost, you will agree with me that safety net बड़ी important चीज है. And other institutes should be providing it, but they just don't bother with it. They don't care. But we do. We care about our scores. We care about our students a lot. That's our primary business. That's how we will become successful. Okay, let's move on to the next slide, Mohit. Your CPA journey will comprise of 6 different stages. You will have to start off with getting evaluated, which is making sure कि आप eligible हो या नहीं. And then training and self-study करनी पड़ती है. Then you will have to apply for candidature with NASBA. Then you'll finally have to take up the exam, schedule them, and pass all 4 of them. Then you'll want to apply for your CPA license, and finally you'll want to get placed, and you want to start making the use of the degree that you have. In all 6 of these places, the Edumont team will provide you assistance. That is the point. Starting from getting evaluation में कौन-कौन से फॉर्म भरने होते हैं, क्या पेपर वर्क चाहिए, स्क्रीन शेयर करके भरवा देंगे. Up until that point, starting from there, till getting placed, you will find Edumont team is with you at every step. Here's the deal though. I cannot tell you one thing. I cannot say that placement guarantee provide कर रहा हूं मैं. There's an institute out there. There's only one who's guaranteeing placements. Now the thing is, if you go and dig down a little deep and you ask this institute, boss, you are saying guaranteed placement, but if KPMG were to reject me, do you have a method with which you could force them to hire me? If PwC were to reject me, can you force them to hire me? कहेगा obviously not. तो फिर आपको गारंटी कैसे है? तो कहेगा सर कहीं ना कहीं तो लगी जाएगी, इतनी जॉब्स हैं, कहीं ना कहीं जॉब लग जाएगी, इसकी गारंटी है. So you understand, this is not a guarantee, this is an assurance. That's the point. We provide a placement assurance. मैं साफ-साफ सीधी बात करूंगा, मैं घुमाऊंगा नहीं चीजें. We provide a placement assurance. We will make sure that you get interview calls. We will make sure your CV is made the right way. We will make sure you are even prepared. You have my advice even for your interview. But then you have to go clear the interview. You have to perform. You have to outshine. And then the job is yours. बाकी इतनी opportunities है कि कहीं ना कहीं fit हो जाओगे. That applies even at Edumont. It's just wrong and misleading to say that is a guarantee. That's all I want to say. Okay, Mohit, let's move on to the next slide and quickly talk about, well, if you want to become a CPA in one attempt, there is one thing you need to look out for. There is a change happening in 2024, and you need to be very well aware of that because it will affect your strategy. It will affect how you appear for the exams. क्या हो रहा है ना 2024 में हमारा जो 4 एग्जाम्स हैं, ऑडिट, फार, रेग एंड बेक, उसमें से बेक हट रहा है. And उसकी जगह पे स्पेशलाइजेशन सब्जेक्ट्स आ रहे हैं. Now, if you were to ask a set of 10 different CPA students, सबसे मुश्किल पेपर कौन सा है, तो कोई फार बोलेगा, कोई रेग बोलेगा, कोई ऑडिट बोलेगा, सहमति नहीं बनेगी. But if you ask them what is the easiest paper, all 10 of them will agree it is BEC. और यही पेपर 2024 में हट रहा है. That is the point. So before the time runs out, we actually want to give this exam because it is easier than the rest of the subjects. And the thing it is replaced with, the specialization may not necessarily be the best thing for you. So let me tell you what the specializations are. And in 3 specializations में से आपको एक चुनना है. तो आपको 2 reject भी करने हैं. So the specializations are going to be business analysis and reporting bar, information systems and control ISC, tax compliance and planning TCP. बार जो है वो फार की स्पेशलाइजेशन है, अकाउंटिंग एंड रिपोर्टिंग की. टीसीपी जो है वो टैक्स की स्पेशलाइजेशन है, और आईएससी इंफॉर्मेशन सिस्टम्स कंट्रोल ये ऑडिट की स्पेशलाइजेशन है. सो यू विल एंड अप हैविंग टू चूज अ स्पेशलाइजेशन व्हिच विल बी अ मोर डिफिकल्ट सब्जेक्ट, may not be the best thing for you to do because BEC is considerably easy and you do want to clear it while you still can. Because well, let's move on to the next slide. 2023 में extension policy is in effect, which is allowing students to extend to the old model and not have to give a specialization, not go through the added difficulty of the new model. By the way, in the new model there is one more subject that's changing, that's audit. Audit में भी मैंने आपको बताया था ना, blockchain auditing is being added. Yes, a whole section on IT is being added in to auditing, which will make it considerably more difficult. So the level of difficulty for CPA is increasing in 24. In the beginning of the presentation, I showed you the demand for CPA that is rising. But along with the rising demand, the level of difficulty is also increasing. To avoid all of this, you need to take use of the extension policy of 2023, which allows the student to give at least one exam of CPA in 23, especially if that exam is BEC. And that will allow you to stay on the old CPA model, the old testing pattern, for an extended period of up till June 30, 2025, which is 2 years from now. अगर आप इस साल में एक पेपर दे देते हो बीईसी का, तो आप पुराने मॉडल पर रह सकते हो up until June 30, 2025, which is 2 years from today. More than that, actually. That's the beauty of it. That's the thing that can save you. तो 2024 में चेंजेस आ रहे हैं, चीजें डिफिकल्ट हो रही हैं, ये एक चीज है, बट इसका एक हैक है, द वे आउट, व्हिच इज नॉट अ इलीगल थिंग. It is a extension policy that is provided by the state boards to the older students, legacy students, जो अभी 2023 में एनरोल हो रहे हैं उनके लिए. अब यही अगर आप मेरे पास अगले साल आते तो ये ऑप्शन ही नहीं होती, मैं आपको दे ही नहीं पाता, पर आप अभी आ गए हो. You're already here, you're listening to this webinar, you are taking in the information, then make use of it. अपना जो सीपीए का जर्नी है सिंप्लीफाइड रखो, ये स्पेशलाइजेशन के चक्कर में, एडेड लेवल ऑफ डिफिकल्टी में मत फंसो. Now, with that being said, Mohit, let's move on to the next slide. Well, let's talk about eligibility. Because CPA in one attempt बनने के लिए क्या क्या चाहिए? I think I've given you an overview of that. Study material, आपकी self study और practice, आपके वो दिन के 2 घंटे, right training provider, the right information, all of that. But you also need to be eligible. And this is a point of contention with many folks. बहुत लोगों को एलिजिबिलिटी पे कंफ्यूजन होती है. You need 120 credits to be exam eligible and you need 150 credits to be license ready. ये सुना होगा आपने. But what are these credits? Credits basically are points given for each subject that you have studied at a university or post graduation level, including CA, CS and ICWA, including them. तो जो भी इन कोर्सेज में यूजी, पीजी एंड सीए, सीएस एंड आईसीडब्ल्यूए में पढ़ रखा आपने, उसका क्रेडिट मिलेगा आपको. तो आपको चाहिए 120 क्रेडिट्स टू बी एग्जाम एलिजिबल. तो 120 क्रेडिट्स कैसे बनेंगे? इफ फॉर एग्जांपल यू हैव डन a 3-year qualification, each year will give you 30 credits, तो बीकॉम करी तो 90 क्रेडिट्स पूरे हो जाएंगे. उसके ऊपर अगर आपने सीए इंटर करी है तो उसके 30 और मिलते हैं, 120 हो गए. अगर सीए कंप्लीट कर रखी है तो 60 क्रेडिट्स मिलते हैं टोटल आपको, तो आपके 90 + 60 150 हो गए. सिमिलरली इफ यू डन योर बीकॉम प्लस उसके ऊपर यू डन अ एमबीए और एन एमकॉम और अ 2-year पीजी डिप्लोमा, ऑल ऑफ दिस विल मेक यू द एलिजिबल विद 150 क्रेडिट्स. बट जो लोग फंसेंगे इसमें वो होंगे प्लेन ग्रेजुएट्स. तो फंसेंगे नहीं, चिंता नहीं करो. इफ यू आर अ ग्रेजुएट फ्रॉम कॉमर्स, you have an advantage again. If you are accounting, business and economics credits are 8+ subject credits in accounting, business and economics, AB credits. अगर 8+ हैं तो you are allowed even with 90 credits to take up the exam. तो होगा क्या? आप अगर सिर्फ ग्रेजुएट हो तो अगर आपके अकाउंटिंग, बिजनेस, इकोनॉमिक्स के पूरे बैठ जाते हैं तो आप एग्जाम के लिए तैयार हो, एग्जाम दे दो. एग्जाम देने के बाद अब आपको लाइसेंस चाहिए, लाइसेंस के लिए 150 चाहिए. 2 years की एडिशनल क्वालिफिकेशन कुछ करनी पड़ेगी, कर लेना, अपनी पसंद से कर लेना. Once you clear the 4 CPA exams, you will have a period of 3 years to furnish the additional credits. And if you have मान लो 120 credits क्योंकि आपने CA इंटर करी और बीकॉम करी है, तो 120 क्रेडिट ही बैठे हैं, तो एग्जाम के लिए तैयार हो. पर ये एडिशनल 30 क्रेडिट्स कोई नहीं. CPA एग्जाम चारों क्लियर कर लेने के बाद you will have a period of 3 years जिसके अंदर ये एडिशनल क्रेडिट्स आप सबमिट कर सकते हो. Now, credits simply समझाने की कोशिश की मैंने, exception rules, general cases समझाए मैंने, but fact of the matter is there are a lot of complications in this. There are 55 state boards and state boards are in agreement on many things, पर छोटे-छोटे differences हैं. कोई स्टेट बोर्ड अपर लेवल कॉस्टिंग ग्रेड मांगता है, कोई स्टेट बोर्ड अपर लेवल ऑडिटिंग ग्रेड मांगता है, थोड़ा थोड़ा फर्क है। किसी को सोशल सिक्योरिटी नंबर चाहिए, कोई कहता है फॉरेन कैंडिडेट्स आर वेलकम, अलग अलग फिलोसफीज है। तो अगर कंफ्यूजन क्रिएट ना हो, इसका एक सोल्यूशन मैं आपको दूं तो होपफुली आपका उससे काम बन जाएगा। तो इफ यू वांट टू गेट योर एलिजिबिलिटी चेक्ड, don't be worried at all, just send a copy of your mark sheets to academics@edumontclasses.com. मोहित ने टाइप भी कर दिया वो चैट में, he is just typing it, academics@edumontclasses.com. That's all. यहाँ पे send a copy of your mark sheets. We'll take a look at your mark sheets. We'll send it to our Wiley US team. Chris and his team will take a look at your mark sheets, tell you the exact number of credits you have. 120 है, 150 है, 90 कितने क्रेडिट्स भी बता देंगे, एंड ये भी बता देंगे कि एलिजिबल हो या नहीं हो, और अगर नहीं हो एलिजिबल तो क्या करने से एलिजिबल हो जाओगे ये भी बता देंगे। सो विल गिव यू फुल गाइडेंस ऑन दिस, एंड इस जस्ट इंडिया और यूएस का टाइम गैप है, तो यू विल हैव टू गिव अस 24 आवर्स। बाकी जगह अगर मेरे कंपेटिटर पे काम कराते हो, आप एलिजिबिलिटी चेक कराते हो, तो वो आधे घंटे में भी भेज देते हैं, बट दैट्स बिकॉज दे गेटिंग इट चेक लोकली। We will get this check from the direct from the horse's mouth, directly from US, from the Wiley US team. वही check करके आपको exact number बताएंगे, and we will then forward you the final report. Give us 24 hours for this process, but when we send you the eligibility report, it will come with a guarantee, with a seal, with a stamp. Okay, boss, this guarantee, this eligibility is guaranteed to be right. If it is not, we will refund your fee. आप स्टेट बोर्ड के साथ अप्लाई करोगे, वो रिजेक्ट करेगा, ये अगर गलत प्रूव होती है हमारी एलिजिबिलिटी, वी विल रिफंड योर एंटायर फी, नो क्वेश्चंस आस्क्ड। गलती हुई हम वापस देंगे, वी आर दैट कॉन्फिडेंट, एंड दैट्स द ब्यूटी ऑफ इट, एंड वी प्रोवाइड दिस सपोर्ट टू यू आउट एंड आउट। क्या होता है, स्टेट बोर्ड के रूल्स भी चेंज होते हैं 6-6 महीने में, तो अलग इंस्टीट्यूट्स में जाओगे तो एलिजिबिलिटी रिपोर्ट में लिख देते हैं इज ओनली वैलिड फॉर नाउ, थोड़े टाइम बाद रूल्स चेंज हो जाएंगे, वी विल नॉट बी एबल टू हेल्प यू, डोंट वरी। At Edumont, even if the rules change, we will be in a position to help you. We will still be able to reassign you to a different state board. We have that kind of connect. It's not a problem. So, hopefully eligibility के ऊपर कुछ clarity मैंने आपको दी, नहीं भी अगर दी तो get it checked from academics@Edumont classes. We'll revert back to you as quickly as we can. Let's move on to the next slide, Mohit, and talk about, well, the last thing, the CPA exam and CPA related expenses and fees. CPA की क्या फीस है, इसकी हम बात फटाफट कर लेते हैं। दिस इज द लास्ट थिंग। इसके बाद आई ओपन अप फॉर Q&A, तो आपके मन में कोई भी सवाल हो, कोई भी क्वेश्चन हो, फील फ्री टू पुट इन द चैट, फील फ्री टू रेज हैंड, एंड वील बी एबल टू टॉक। मोहित, एग्जिट पोल भी रिलीज कर दो यार सबके लिए, लेट्स नॉट वेट फॉर दैट, प्लीज डू लेट अस नो एग्जिट पोल में while we are talking about the fee. Meanwhile, you can also on the side fill in this poll. Please do let us know, how did you like the session, was it useful to you, are you interested in CPA, would you like to join in? Based on your response, we'll interact with you. अब मना कर दोगे हम बात नहीं करेंगे, आपके पीछे नहीं पड़ेंगे, आप हाँ कर दोगे तो आपकी मदद करा देंगे, पीछे हम नहीं पड़ेंगे फिर भी। That is the beauty of Edumont. We don't call our customers infinitely. We like to keep things civil. Now, with that being said, let me also tell you what is the CPA exam fee. Total तो आप देख ही चुके होगे 3,45,000. But there have been some changes. कुछ चीजों की कॉस्ट बढ़ी है, कुछ चीजों की कॉस्ट घटी है. I'll tell you the whole process and I'll also tell you, if you look at the various types of fees that are available, तो आपको लगे तो 15 तरीके की फीस है, how does this work? Evaluation की अलग है, application की अलग है, registration की अलग है, SBA की अलग है, ये तो कितनी फीस है? No worry. Looking at this total 345, you may not get the full picture, but I'll give you from the accountant's point of view, cash कैसे मूव करेगा, कैश फ्लो बताता हूं मैं क्या होगा। पहले तो दो कैटेगरी के एक्सपेंसेस है, कैटेगरी ए एंड कैटेगरी बी। कैटेगरी ए इज आपकी सेल्फ स्टडी का स्टडी मटेरियल, आपका ट्रेनिंग का पार्टनर, आपका एडिशनल एलएमएस वगैरह का सबका जो पार्टनर, दैट इज द आइडिया, उस सब का कॉस्ट, यू नो, स्टडी मटेरियल एंड ट्रेनिंग, कोचिंग एसेंशियली, दिस इज द लोएस्ट कॉस्ट। हाईएस्ट कॉस्ट जो है एक्चुअली वो कैटेगरी बी एक्सपेंसेस, विच इज एग्जाम रिलेटेड एक्सपेंसेस। यही पॉइंट है, आमतौर पे क्या होता है, आप कोई भी एग्जाम दो ना, उसकी फीस कम होती है, ट्रेनिंग का खर्चा ज्यादा होता है। But in CPA, you will find the training expense is still reasonable. It is the exam fees which is pretty expensive. If you look at the total exam fees, just the exam fees, only category B, the total is 2,35,000. 36 मान लो, दिस इज कन्वर्टेड बेस्ड ऑन टुडेज एक्सचेंज रेट। इसमें आप थोड़ा सा वो भी डाल लो चाहे बैंकिंग चार्जेस, तो भी इट विल बिकम 240, 2,40,000 के करीब बैठेगा। तो आप 2.5 मान लो यार, नो प्रॉब्लम। रफली 50,000, the first 18,394 plus 20,029 रुपीज, फर्स्ट टू जो एक्सपेंसेस हैं वो एक बार में जाते हैं ऑलमोस्ट, मतलब उसमें मैक्सिमम 30 से 40 दिन का गैप होता है, इट हैपेंस इन द सेम टाइम। So if you think about it, the first set of payments, let's say you join a coaching institute and you start your CPA journey tomorrow. तो tomorrow से महीना 1.5 महीना तो पढ़ोगे ही, उसके बाद you'll be in a position कि मेरे को एग्जाम अप्लाई करना है। That's when you start off by paying your first 18,394 rupees, 18,500 रुपए पहले निकलेंगे। उसके एक महीने बाद you'll pay another 20K. Then you will be in a position to apply for your NTS, to pay your exam fee. तो एग्जाम की फीस हमने टोटल्स में ली है फॉर ऑल 4, बट इफ आई वर टू ब्रेक इट डाउन एंड डिवाइड इट इनटू 4 पार्ट्स, 2,35,000 में से अबाउट 30 तो ऐसे ही निकल गए, 35 ऐसे निकल गए, 2 लाख रह गए, तो अबाउट 50,000 पर एग्जाम पड़ता है। दैट्स द एक्चुअल कैश फ्लो इन रुपीज दैट यू विल एक्सपीरियंस। तो फर्स्ट एग्जाम दैट व्हेन यू पे द फर्स्ट एग्जाम फी, वो आप 50K पे करोगे 3 months आफ्टर ज्वाइनिंग इन, व्हेन यू आर रेडी टू टेक अप द फर्स्ट एग्जाम। फिर वो एग्जाम देकर उसको पास करोगे, 10-15 दिन रिजल्ट आएगा, आप भी रिलैक्स करोगे, रिजल्ट आएगा, आप पास हो जाओगे, आप खुश हो जाओगे, फिर नेक्स्ट पढ़ना शुरू करोगे। देन यू विल वेट एंड स्टडी फॉर द नेक्स्ट 2 to 3 months फॉर द नेक्स्ट सब्जेक्ट, देन पे अनदर 50K फॉर द सेकंड एग्जाम। फिर 3 से 4 महीने का गैप एंड देन यू पे फॉर द नेक्स्ट एग्जाम, एंड देन अगेन 2 to 3 months का गैप एंड देन यू पे फॉर द नेक्स्ट एग्जाम। सो यू पे इन बिट्स एंड पीसेस, यू डोंट पे द 350 ऑल एट वंस। खाते में, अकाउंट में अभी पैसे 3.5 लाख रुपए हो, ऐसा नहीं चाहिए। All that is needed is to manage the cash flow and know cash कैसे जाएगा। You have to pay on a per paper basis. तो जब जब पेपर लोगे तब तब उसका खर्चा देना, तब तब कैश निकालना। That is the first thing. And मोटा माटी अगर अगेन कैटेगरी बी को मैं समराइज करूं तो 18,000 तो एवेल्युएशन का कॉस्ट है, which is what? Which is converting your Indian credits into percentages. The remaining is the cost of the exams. और उसमें भी वन टाइम एक्सपेंस है 20,029 का, विच इज दी वन टाइम कॉस्ट। तो वो बार बार नहीं देनी, तो उसको 4 से मत डिवाइड करो, उसको वन टाइम पे कर दो, 20 और माइनस कर दो, तो इट बिकम्स लेस देन 2 lakhs, रफली 50K पर पेपर। इट इज एक्सपेंसिव। अगर आप पेपर फेल कर गए तो ये 50,000 डूब जाएंगे। तभी जब मैं स्टडी मटेरियल की गाइडेंस दे रहा था, आई टोल्ड एवरीबडी कि डोंट स्किम ऑन और सेव ऑन स्टडी मटेरियल कॉस्ट। आप 10-15 हजार के चक्कर में पता क्या करोगे, 50,000 के पेपर को दाव पे लगा दोगे। दैट्स बीइंग पेनी वाइज एंड पाउंड फुलिश, क्योंकि 50,000 बर्बाद हो जाएंगे अगर पेपर फेल हो जाए। तो पेपर फेल नहीं होना चाहिए, इसीलिए आई थिंक यू विल आल्सो एग्री विद मी इन दिस, the Edumont service of checking your preparation and giving an approval before you go give the exam makes a lot of sense. I hope it does to you as well. With that being said, next up is our fee. So right now, while you're in the the poll questions, you're answering the poll questions, वहां पे आपके पास early bird discount का भी option है, and you're welcome to take up and tick up that option. If you do, then what happens is our cost is reduced by 14K at a discount. But with that being said, if you look at the breakdown of the expenses, हमारी वाइली की कॉस्ट अभी recently shoot up हुई है from 37,000 to 43,000, and this has happened quite recently. Even the website is not yet updated fully. I think from tomorrow onwards you'll be able to see this on our website as well कि वो 43 हो गया 37 से बढ़ के। That's because again the dollar rate changes. Like I said, if you import material you got to pay in dollars, तो थोड़ा सा फर्क आया। But don't worry, we have been able to compensate it still. We've saved up a little bit on GST. That's number one. GST is now only applicable on the last component. हालांकि everything is inclusive GST. That's number one. Number two, we've offered a 14K discount. तो कर करा के the cost now is 1,09,660, which is a phenomenal cost, because last year the cost was 1,24,000 and we were able to reduce it down to 110. This year, despite the price increase in Wiley, we are still able to beat that price, bring it back to 109. Now, when you compare us at 109 with, let's say, our competitors, you will find two things. Number one, some of them are cheaper. 70, 80, 90,000, 75,000, 80,000 ऐसे बेचने वाले institutes भी हैं, but they're not providing genuine content, and in most cases the service is crap. So if you are buying a inferior lesser price product in the market, please be very vigilant. मैं मना नहीं कर रहा, आपके पैसे आप जहां मर्जी लगाओ, but be vigilant. चेक जरूर कर लेना सब कुछ ठीक हो वहां. वो चेक करने के लिए जो जो आपको जानना है वो मैं आपको बता चुका हूँ. और क्लास जरूर ले लेना, जैसे मेरी लेना चाह रहे हो कल, उनकी भी क्लास जरूर लेना, because that is a very important aspect. And again, your teacher really matters, because CPA की जो journey है, it could range from 12 to 18 months. तो अगले साल से 1.5 साल you have to spend with a person. So you got to make sure you are comfortable with the teacher. If you're not, you wasted money. So that's number one. Number two, you will find some other players and providers are more expensive. So please be aware, ये जो more expensive है, ये brand की वजह से they are charging a premium. They're welcome to do so. You are welcome to pay them a premium. But please know their product is limited access. This is access till you pass. I hope that puts in some perspective in terms of pricing. Okay, how we are placed, where we are placed. We are not the cheapest in the market. We are right in the middle somewhere. But we have the best possible service combination that we can provide to you. That is how we are placed in the market as a brand. But that being said, we are slightly more premium than your gali pe chalta hua brand. So we will be probably 5,000, 7,000, 10,000 more expensive than them. But with that being said, we will try and provide you the best value. Mohit, let's open up for Q&A. I'm done. Thank you so much, everybody. If you have any questions, now is the time when I'd like to address those questions. तो कुछ है मेरे लिए मोहित जो मैं जिसका जवाब दे सकता हूँ, and do we have all our responses? Okay, Vijay sir has raised hand. He wants to talk to us, so let's allow them. So Darshan was asking, can you please message the paper-wise cost in the chat? Darshan, I hope अब आपको clarity आ गई होगी. Cost dollar में जो मर्जी हो, रुपए में 50,000 के करीब लगेगा यार per paper. So you gotta be prepared कि each paper when you give it, it will cost you 50K. That's the idea. रुपए में हमें cost इतना पड़ेगा. So I hope that makes sense. Okay, who wants to talk? I'm sorry, Mr. Vijay, you want to talk? Please unmute yourself and go ahead.
Good evening, sir.
Hi, good afternoon. Good evening, rather.
Sir, exactly, I'm a cost accountant. I'm doing my own practice.
Okay.
So I do have more than 15 years of experience in costing field. So
wonderful.
Right. So thanks a lot, sir. But right now, I would like to do CPA for practice aspect, as I want to catch the international client after completion my CPA. So as I've seen that there's a lot of opportunity for the job.
Oh yes.
In CPA. What about if somebody wants to do practice?
If you want to do practice, तो उसमें भी बहुत opportunity है. अभी what you will notice is already I'm seeing this meteoric rise in outsourcing startups. Noida में बहुत companies हैं that are rising up. So there are smaller organizations, smaller outfits that are taking work from abroad. तो अगर आप बहुत ही छोटे स्केल पे शुरू करना चाहते हो तो Fiverr जैसी वेबसाइट से you can get a lot of tax preparing work, a lot of auditing outsourced work. And if you are actually looking to build a business with business sense, so I would actually recommend not just doing CPA yourself, but also hiring a few people next to you and having a business development network set up and connecting with these clients abroad, जो mid-sized और small-sized firms होती हैं. भाई Walmart जैसी कंपनी तो EY से ऑडिट करा लेगी. But what if it's a smaller organization that only has 4 stores in its chain, but it is doing okay? वो कहाँ से audit कराएगी? It'll need a smaller sized auditor, and you could be the cost advantage there. You could be the person reaching out to them online and offering them the service at a much reduced price. That's where you could win your market. I hope that sort of makes sense, Vijay sir.
But sir, exactly, like Edumont, will I get any kind of support if I'll join you? So will I get any kind of support?
मैं आपको 2 तरीके का support दे सकता हूँ इसमें आपकी प्रैक्टिस बिल्ड करने में, क्योंकि सर एट द एंड ऑफ द डे दिस इज नॉट अ बिजनेस कोचिंग, दिस इज सीपीए कोचिंग. मेरा काम सीपीए पढ़ाना है. बिजनेस तो मैं बिल्ड नहीं करवा दूंगा आपका, वो आप ही को करना होगा. बट विद दैट बीइंग सेड, मैं आपकी कुछ मदद करा सकता हूँ. फॉर एग्जांपल, आई हैव obviously a student base in the US and in Canada. So I can help you getting in touch with some of those folks and finding out from them how do you reach out to the right people. थोड़ा बहुत कनेक्ट्स में मदद चाहिए होगी आपको. How do I reach out the HR of this organization? What should be my tool? I can help you with all of that information. ये सब चीजों में मैं आपकी मदद दे सकता हूँ, बट ऑफ कोर्स आपको एग्जीक्यूट करना पड़ेगा सर, वो आपको करना होगा.
Thanks a lot. And sir, like there is a one more course also, enrollment agent. So somebody has told me that if somebody complete the enrollment agent course, so he can get the tax
प्रिपेयरर,
work tax
टैक्स
return.
प्रिपेयरर. हाँ.
Yes,
तो
so
सर
tax
ये जो
return
होती है, ये इज नॉट अ डिग्री, इट्स नॉट डिग्री. ये इंडिया में थोड़ा सा इसको ना गलत तरीके से कर रहे हैं प्रेजेंट. मुझे पता है कौन सी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन है, मैं नाम नहीं लूंगा. ये इसको गलत तरीके से प्रेजेंट करें सर. ये सर्टिफिकेशन है, एक छोटी सी सर्टिफिकेट है, आईआरएस देती है, और ये सिर्फ आपको टैक्स प्रिपेयरर बनाने को अलाउ करेगी. आप टैक्स प्लानिंग, टैक्स एडवाइजरी कोई और काम नहीं कर सकते. आप सिर्फ एक ही काम कर सकते हो, रिटर्न फाइल करा सकते हो बस. वो सिर्फ रिटर्न फाइल कराने की डिग्री, और कोई उसके अलावा उसमें आप कुछ नहीं कर सकते. और वो डिग्री नहीं है, एक सर्टिफिकेट है. फर्क है ईएमए, बट वो एक चॉइस है आपके पास अगर आपको सिर्फ टैक्स प्रिपेयर करने का काम करना है. दैट्स इट. तो
उसके अंदर सर किस तरह की अपॉर्चुनिटीज हैं?
सर सिर्फ टैक्स फाइल करने का काम है, क्या अपॉर्चुनिटी होती है उस ऐसे काम में? इंडिया में ये टैक्स फाइल करने का क्या पैसा ले लेता है?
और सर लाइक
छोटा
जैसे
काम है.
ये और सर जैसे लाइक सीपीए यूएसए करने के बाद कैन वी डू प्रैक्टिस इन कनाडा एंड दुबई एंड ऑस्ट्रेलिया?
यू कैन डू योर प्रैक्टिस एनीवेयर इन द वर्ल्ड, एनीवेयर.
ओके.
आप प्रैक्टिस कहीं भी लगा सकते हो. आपको सर अगर ऑडिट सर्विस दोगे ना, तो मेरे को पता ना, उस केस में अगर ऑडिटिंग सर्विस दोगे तो मैं आपको बताऊंगा कुछ कैवियट्स होते हैं. अदरवाइज आपका लाइसेंस किस स्टेट का है और किस ज्योग्राफी में आप खोलना चाह रहे हो ऑफिस, उसका कोई ताल्लुक नहीं है आपस में. आप पूरे इंडिया में, पूरे यूएस में, पूरे कनाडा में कहीं भी अपनी प्रैक्टिस खोल सकते हो. कोई उसमें स्ट्रेस नहीं है, कोई उसमें नहीं है.
बट सर देयर इज अ वन पॉइंट आल्सो कि अगर मैं कोई डॉक्यूमेंट सर्टिफाई कर रहा हूँ तो मुझे यूएसए में अवेलेबल होना जरूरी है? मैं
नहीं
सर्टिफाई नहीं कर
नहीं
सकता?
साहब, नहीं नहीं सर, ऐसी कोई रिक्वायरमेंट नहीं है सर. ये आपने पता नहीं किससे सुन ली है और क्यों सुन ली है, पर ये बिल्कुल ही गलत है सर. पूरी दुनिया में सीपीए काम करते हैं. सीए भी पूरी दुनिया में काम करते हैं यार. तो उनको क्या इंडिया होना जरूरी होता है? सीपीए को यूएस होना जरूरी क्यों है? आपको सर्टिफाई करने के लिए सर लाइसेंस चाहिए. लाइसेंस का ना नंबर होता है यूनिक. जैसे मेरा एक यूनिक लाइसेंस नंबर है 4492, यूनिक नंबर होता है. वो नंबर इज आपकी पहचान. आप साइन करके नीचे अपना लाइसेंस नंबर लिखते हो. आप कहीं भी हो दुनिया में आप साइन कर सकते हो. ऑडिट करते हुए रिस्ट्रिक्शंस होती है उसकी. अगर आप सर्विस दो, अगर ऑडिट की सर्विस दोगे तो मुझे बता देना, मैं आपके साथ बैठ के आपको समझा दूंगा फिर कि ऑडिट के केस में कैसे प्लान करना है. वहां फर्क पड़ता है थोड़ा सा. उसके अलावा कोई भी और सर्विस देनी हो, आपने एडवाइजरी देनी हो, आपने टैक्स की सर्विस देनी हो, आपने अकाउंटिंग की सर्विस देनी हो, आपने ऑडिट की बैक एंड सर्विस देनी हो, आउटसोर्स्ड काम करना हो, कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता. आपने ऑडिट रिपोर्ट साइन करनी हो ना जब, तब फर्क पड़ता है, तब मुझे पता ना. उसके अलावा कोई कहीं फर्क नहीं पड़ता. आप अटेस्टेशन एंगेजमेंट भी दे सकते हो. जैसे अटेस्टेशन एंगेजमेंट्स होती है ना, अटेस्ट कर दो हमारे इंटरनल कंट्रोल ठीक चल रहे नहीं चल रहे, वो भी दे सकते हो आप, कोई दिक्कत नहीं. प्रॉब्लम सिर्फ ऑडिट, स्टैट्यूटरी ऑडिट के केस में आती है. वहां रूल्स हैं कुछ जो आपको ओबे करने पड़ते हैं, वरना उसके अलावा कहीं कोई दिक्कत नहीं है. आई होप दैट मेक सेंस विजय सर.
थैंक्स अ लॉट सर. थैंक यू
माय
वेरी
प्लेजर
मच.
सर.
थैंक्स अ लॉट फॉर
माय
गिविंग
प्लेजर.
योर थैंक्स अ लॉट सर. थैंक्स अ लॉट.
Okay.
Darshit sir, question is, sir, in management consultation, we will need to prepare report and submit them. How can we get training with CPA?
ओके, सो मैनेजमेंट कंसल्टिंग की आपने बात करी, आपने लाइन तो टॉप की चुनी है दर्शन सर. बट मैनेजमेंट कंसल्टेंट का रास्ता जो है वो सिर्फ सीपीए से नहीं जाता. आई विल बी ऑनेस्ट विद यू, कंसल्टेंसी भी कई तरीके की सर. इफ यू डूइंग मैनेजमेंट कंसल्टेंसी, इफ दैट इज द केस, सिर्फ सीपीए से शायद बात ना बने. यू विल नीड टू हैव एटलीस्ट एन एमबीए फ्रॉम अ रिकॉग्नाइज्ड टॉप क्लास यूनिवर्सिटी अलोंग विद इट. तो एमबीए प्लस सीपीए या फिर सीए प्लस सीपीए, कुछ थोड़ा 2-3 क्वालिफिकेशन चाहिए होती है मैनेजमेंट कंसल्टिंग में घुसने के लिए. क्योंकि मैनेजमेंट कंसल्टिंग इज द होली ग्रेल ऑफ आवर प्रोफेशन, राइट? उसमें मिलती है वो लाखों करोड़ों वाली सैलरियां जो हम इमेजिन करते हैं, वहां मिलती हैं ये. तो उसमें घुसना भी इतना आसान नहीं होता, फिर उसके लिए थोड़ी एक्स्ट्रा एफर्ट लगती है. अब सर का सवाल क्या था ये बताओ. तो कहते हैं सर्टिफाई करनी वो रिपोर्ट।
Then how can we get training with CPA?
सो सर बीईसी का जो सब्जेक्ट है ना, बिजनेस एनवायरनमेंट एंड कॉन्सेप्ट्स, इज एन एंटायर सब्जेक्ट डेडिकेटेड टू दिस। उसमें ये बात की जाती है इन डिटेल, कंपनी कैपिटल बजटिंग कैसे करे, कंपनी फाइनेंशियल मैनेजमेंट कैसे करे, व्हाट आर द कटिंग एज कॉस्ट सेविंग टेक्निक्स, व्हाट इज द राइट मेजर, द राइट वे टू मेजर कॉस्ट ऑफ अ प्रोडक्ट, हाउ डू यू प्लान द स्ट्रेटेजी, हाउ डू यू डू द बजटिंग, सब कवर होता है उसमें। बीईसी इस चीज के लिए बना है, ये सब्जेक्ट ही इस चीज के लिए बना है, तो उसमें सब कवर होता है सर। आप बिल्कुल चिंता ना करें, हम ये आपको पढ़ाएंगे, ये हमारे कोर्स करिकुलम का पार्ट है। आई होप दैट आंसर्स योर क्वेश्चन दर्शन सर।
There's one more question from Darshan. What is IQ's international integration?
So IQEX is international qualification exam, not immigration. IQEX is a MRA का एग्जाम। तो क्या होता है सर, अगर आप यूएस सीपीए कर लेते हो ना, एंड यू वांट टू फॉर एग्जांपल गेट योर सीपीए ऑस्ट्रेलिया, मान लो आप यूएस सीपीए करके फॉर सम रीजन 5-7 साल बाद आप ऑस्ट्रेलिया शिफ्ट होते हो, बिकॉज वहां जॉब आपको मिलती है विद लाइक अ ईवाई और समथिंग, तो आप वहां हो, आप गए तो सीपीए के नाते वहां थे, क्योंकि प्रोजेक्ट यूएस सीपीए रिक्वायर्ड था वहां प्रोजेक्ट पे, तो आप तो उसलिए गए, पर आपको ऑस्ट्रेलिया अच्छी लग गई, आपको लगा चलो यहाँ करियर बनाने का देखते हैं एक बार, तो आप सीपीए ऑस्ट्रेलिया भी ले सकते हो। उसके लिए सिर्फ एक सिंगल एग्जाम देना है कॉल्ड IQEX। इसी तरह स्कॉटलैंड का भी है, इसी तरह न्यूजीलैंड का भी है, इसी तरह यूएई के अंदर तो खैर डिग्री उनकी अपनी बॉडी नहीं है काउंटिंग, तो सीपीए की डिग्री इज देयर ऑफिशियल डिग्री, पर इसी तरह कनाडा में भी है। कनाडा में इनफैक्ट आपको एग्जाम नहीं देना पड़ता IQEX का, आपको सिर्फ क्रेडिट ट्रांसफर करने पड़ते हैं। तो इसी तरह हांगकांग में भी है, तो अगर आपको सीपीए ऑफ हांगकांग चाहिए हो तो भी आपको सिर्फ एक पेपर IQEX का देना है। ये MRA होता है, म्यूचुअल रिकॉग्निशन एग्रीमेंट। इसमें क्या होता है, आप अपनी अपनी यूएस की डिग्री को आप एक्सटेंड करके एक अलग कंट्री की डिग्री में भी ऐड कर सकते हो, और आप वो मल्टीपल डिग्रीज इकट्ठे साइमल्टेनियसली होल्ड कर सकते हो। आई एम अ सीपीए ऑस्ट्रेलिया, आई एम आल्सो सीपीए न्यूजीलैंड, आई एम आल्सो सीपीए यूएस। You could be if you so need it. That is the idea. I hope that answers your question, Darshan sir. Please do let me know in the chat.
There is a question is, different countries have different CPA.
Yes.
So how we get license?
Okay, so different countries have different CPAs. Absolutely right, Garima. And what you are right now aspiring to do is the US CPA, which is the flagship CPA course in the world. ये टॉप का है। और अगर आपको, जैसे कि मैंने आपको कहा कि आपको डिफरेंट कंट्री के लाइसेंस अगर चाहिए, मान लो आपको ऑस्ट्रेलिया का अलग से चाहिए, आपको न्यूजीलैंड का भी चाहिए, आपको मेक्सिको का भी चाहिए, तो आपको उसके लिए अपनी यूएस सीपीए को एक्सटेंड करना होगा यूजिंग MRA, म्यूचुअल रिकॉग्निशन एग्रीमेंट, जिसमें आपको एक एग्जाम देना है सिर्फ IQEX, जिसमें लोकल टैक्सेशन का कंटेंट होता है, स्पेशली इन द केस ऑफ ऑस्ट्रेलिया एंड न्यूजीलैंड एंड मेक्सिको। लोकल टैक्सेशन लॉज आर स्लाइटली डिफरेंट देयर, तो उसका है US गैप रिपोर्टिंग इज वेरी सिमिलर टू ऑस्ट्रेलियन गैप। तो वहां पे और कोई पेपर नहीं है, जस्ट वन एग्जाम एंड यू आर एबल टू गेट द लोकल क्वालिफिकेशन एज वेल इफ यू सो विश टू हैव। तो आप वो ले सकते हो उस बेसिस पर अगेन हमने हर जगह थोड़ी जाना है। Probably you are hoping, Garima, to move out of India. If that is your goal, so you're probably looking at either UAE or looking at Canada as a realistic choice. तो इन दोनों जगह जाने के लिए तो कोई एग्जाम ही नहीं है, इन दोनों जगह के लिए डिग्री के लिए सिर्फ ट्रांसफर करना है, $230 की फीस देनी है, एंड दैट्स इट, दैट्स ऑल देयर इज टू इट। आई होप दैट आंसर्स योर क्वेश्चन गरिमा, थैंक यू। एनीथिंग एल्स फ्रॉम एनीबॉडी, किसी का भी कोई और सवाल हो प्लीज feel free to ask. I'll be happy to do it. And if not, then thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for giving us your time. Have a wonderful evening ahead. And if you're coming tomorrow to the class, I'll see you then in the morning. And if not, have a great weekend. Bye.
The question is, upgrading skills for CP qualification like you referred of blockchain audit, would you support?
तो अगर आप अपने सीपीए बनने के बाद फर्दर अपग्रेड करना चाहते हो, तो आई विल नॉट ओनली सपोर्ट इट, आई विल गाइड यू एज वेल, आई विल हेल्प यू विद व्हाट ऑल इज नीडेड। वैसे आपको इस प्रोसेस में जब सीपीए बन जाओगे, आपको सीपीई कंटिन्यूइंग प्रोफेशनल एजुकेशन के क्रेडिट्स वैसे ही हर साल देने पड़ेंगे टू मेंटेन योर लाइसेंस, तो आपको ये एक्स्ट्रा लर्निंग चाहिए ही होगी। एंड यस, एट एड्यूमॉन्ट वी आर एबल टू प्रोवाइड यू अ लिस्ट ऑफ व्हाट आर द रिकमेंडेड टॉपिक्स फॉर द फ्यूचर दैट यू शुड बी रेफरिंग टू। एंड वो सीपीई क्रेडिट्स जो है यूजुअली आपके एम्प्लॉयर पोर्टल पे मिलते हैं, जैसे if you are with a EY or a KPMG or PwC, तो उनके अपने एम्प्लॉयर पोर्टल्स वैसे ही हैं, एंड दे ऑल्सो रिक्वायर सर्टेन CPA आवर्स एवरी ईयर एनीवे। तो जब आप एम्प्लॉयर वाले इकोसिस्टम में आ जाओगे तो आपके पास CPE का एक्सेस वैसे ही होगा, तो आपको अपस्किलिंग के लिए मटेरियल नहीं चाहिए होगा, पर डायरेक्शन चाहिए होगी, एंड आई विल बी हैप्पी टू प्रोवाइड यू दैट डायरेक्शन इफ सो बी द केस। जी विजय सर, प्लीज गो अहेड।
सर एग्जैक्टली ये क्वेश्चन और था कि सर जैसे ऑडिट एंड अटेस्टेशन वर्क में जैसे जनरली एक हिंदुस्तान में कुछ रेट वगैरह कुछ हर सीएस का एक अलग अलग फीस होता है, तो एक ऑडिट एंड अटेस्टेशन में कितना पैसा मिल जाता है, मतलब सीपीए प्रैक्टिस
सैलरी कितनी मिल जाती है क्लाइंट पे?
नहीं,
वो सैलरी नहीं, यू मीन
असाइनमेंट
कॉम्पेंसेशन? राइट राइट राइट।
प्रोफेशनल फीस कितना मिल जाता है?
प्रोफेशनल फीस कितनी मिल जाती है? सो सर दिस डिपेंड्स एंटायरली ऑन द साइज ऑफ द क्लाइंट। अगर मान लो यार छोटू सा बिजनेस है यूएस में, मॉम एंड पॉप शॉप है, तो $10,000 तक आप चार्ज कर सकते हो, जो एक रीजनेबल फीस होती है। अगर आपकी कंपनी जो है वो मिड साइज मैन्युफैक्चरिंग प्लांट है, मान लो यूएस में मैन्युफैक्चरिंग का प्लांट लगा है उस बंदे ने, उसकी इंडस्ट्री है, $100,000 तक भी मांग सकते हो आप, क्योंकि उसमें फिर काम भी बथेरा होगा और लोग भी बहुत लगेंगे। और अगर बड़ी क्लाइंट है तो फिर तो सर जैसे ईवाई तो $1 मिलियन प्लस फीस लेती है। अगर आपको ईवाई केपीएमजी जैसी कंपनी से ऑडिट कराना तो $1 मिलियन की भी फीस लेती है, तो वो भी थ्रेशोल्ड है। पर अगेन $1 मिलियन पे करने वाला जो क्लाइंट है उसका $1 बिलियन का प्रॉफिट भी तो होगा, तो वो साइज भी उस तरीके का होना चाहिए। तो वो ये क्लाइंट के साइज पे डिपेंड करता है सर फीस, वो इंडिया वाला ही सिस्टम है उस मामले में, क्लाइंट की जेब देख के फीस तय की जाती है, दैट इज द आइडिया। तो वैसे ही है,
एंड
और
सर
उनके अगर प्रॉफिट है ही नहीं तो क्या क्या मांग लोगे?
एंड
वो
सर
वाला है।
कुछ स्टूडेंट्स आपके हैं जो ऐसे प्रैक्टिस कर रहे हो जो
हाँ
सीपीए
हाँ, ले I have a lot of students who are doing this, who are in India and getting work from abroad. In fact, one of them very recently cleared his reg exam with 93 percentile score, amazing guy, or Banke is his name, and he's based out of Mathura, and he's doing an online thing there. He's also CA by the way, वो भी CA है, कमाल का लड़का है, and he's doing great. And yes, I have students who do this. CAs को ये बहुत strong line of work लगता है, एंड आपको मैं सही बताऊं अगर सर, तो 3 से 4 क्लाइंट पकड़ने, प्रैक्टिस बन जाएगी और इंटरनेशनल क्वालिटी की बनेगी, दैट इज द पॉइंट। दैट्स इट।
Thanks a lot. Have a nice talking to you, sir. Take care.
माय प्लेजर सर। ऑलराइट फोक्स, थैंक यू ऑल फॉर वाचिंग। आई होप मैंने सबके सवालों के जवाब दे दिए होंगे, एंड इफ दैट इज द केस, थैंक यू सो मच, थैंक यू फॉर वाचिंग। आई विल सी यू अगेन शॉर्टली, एंड इफ आई डोंट, हैव अ ग्रेट वीकेंड। बाय, थैंक यू।